This forum is sponsored by the Berkeley County Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters of the Charleston area. The co-sponsors are nonpartisan and do not support or oppose political parties or candidates. To make it easier for everyone to see and hear the candidates, which you've actually already done, thank you. It really helps when you keep your audio and your video off during the forum. Then that makes sure our candidates are front and center. League-sponsored forums are being live streamed on Facebook. Video recordings are available for later viewing on the League's Facebook page and on Vote 411, the League's voter information website. Now I'm going to introduce the candidates. For the November 3rd general election, voters in these districts will choose a candidate to represent them for 4-year terms. The candidates in alphabetical order are, for Senate District 37, Steve French, the Libertarian candidate, Larry Grooms, the Republican candidate, and Katherine Whittaker, the Democratic candidate. Unfortunately, Mr. Grooms' schedule changed and he informed us that he was unable to participate tonight. We were counting on Steve French. We're hoping that he's going to make it, so we will be waiting for him. For Senate District 44, we have Brian Adams, the Republican candidate, and Debbie Bryant, the Democratic candidate. Mr. Adams' schedule also changed, and he informed us that he was unable to participate. So tonight, so far, we will just have Katherine Whittaker, the Democratic candidate from Senate District 37, and Debbie Bryant, the Democratic candidate from Senate District 44. Our format will be that candidates in alphabetical order and district will have 60 seconds for introductory statements. I will ask questions from the co-sponsors and from the public that were submitted in advance. During the forum, chat and Q&A will be turned off. No questions will be asked that are directed to only one candidate or a personal nature. Candidates have 90 seconds to respond to the questions. Candidates can make an additional 60-second comments after the other candidates have responded. Just signal me by raising your hand. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for a closing statement in reverse order of introductory statements. We ask that candidates use closing statements to summarize the issues they've already discussed and their vision for the position they speak. Our timer, Vicki Westberg, will signal candidates when they have 30 seconds remaining and when the time is up. And there's Vicki, her 30 seconds, and stop. I'm not going to cut you off mid-sentence, but I am going to hope that you will finish that sentence and wrap it up so we can get to the next question. We will begin with 60-second introductory remarks. I will note that Mr. Grooms and Mr. Adams, because they notified us in advance that they were not coming, were offered the opportunity to provide us with their opening statements, but they declined to reply. So we're going to move forward without them. And we will begin in alphabetical order. We will begin with Debbie Bryant, District 44.
Hello. Thank you so much to the League for hosting this event tonight. I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you for all the voters and others who came to support the candidates and to take a look at us and who we are. So to tell you about me, let me start by saying I'm a League member and worked on the health policy committees, so I'm very proud of that. I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, I'm an educator, and I'm a wife of an Army veteran. There are many who would probably ask, why did a nurse decide to run for state senate? Well, frankly, I was disappointed by what I was seeing out in our political divide and thought that I could offer some expertise and something that would be around bringing alliances. Also, as a healthcare provider, after COVID and that hit our community, I knew that I could bring my expertise in public health to the arena. So as a nurse, we never ask anyone their political affiliation. We just do what needs to get done. And I want to take that can-do attitude into the State House. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Whittaker?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Katherine Whittaker, the Democratic candidate for South Carolina Senate District 37. Delighted to be here with you all tonight. Thank you to the Berkeley County Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum for us. I am running for office because I think it is more important than ever that we have accessible and effective leadership in our state Senate. And that's the kind of leader that I want to be. As I have talked with people all over this district, and it is a big district, from Bono Beach to Monk's Corner to Daniel Island to Mount Pleasant, I've learned that we all want the same things. We want our kids to be happy and healthy. We want good roads to drive on and reliable community services. And we want economic opportunity. Those are the kinds of issues that we should prioritize in our state Senate. And those are the kinds of issues that I will fight for as your next state senator. I'm excited to jump in tonight and to hear your questions because I want to represent you. So looking forward to engaging in this conversation. Again, thanks for having us. And here we go.
Thank you. I'd like to let everyone know that we got a text from Steve French for District 37, and he was unfortunately informed us that he's had a family emergency and was hoping he'd get a surrogate from the campaign, but he ran out of time. So it's just going to be our two candidates, and we will begin with the questions. So I think let's start with this one. What do you have planned to engage and communicate with your constituents on a regular basis, and will you pledge to do so? And let's start with Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, Julie, thank you. First of all, being accessible is the whole reason that I got into this race. I had a particular occurrence a couple of years ago when I took the day off of work to drive up to Columbia to advocate for a school readiness tax credit, which is something that's been proven in Louisiana to be a really good thing for kindergarten readiness. And in the Tri-County region, we have a major problem with kindergarten readiness. So only 4 in 10 kids are showing up to kindergarten ready to learn, and that was before the pandemic. And so I went up to Columbia 2 years ago to try to meet with my elected officials to talk with them about this issue. They didn't respond to my requests for meetings, including phone call requests as well. And so when I got there, I pulled Senator Grooms out into the lobby, as you do when you're up there, as I've learned. And we only had about a 2-minute conversation. And he basically said there's too many irons in the fire for him right now for him to focus on anything else. And he walked back inside. And it was a very disappointing moment for me because that's not the way government is supposed to work. As a representative, you have to meet with the people you represent and you have to listen to them, even when they disagree with you. I think we've gotten it's gotten too divisive, and we've gotten, actually, frankly, we don't want to get into uncomfortable conversations. It's just too hard, and so we choose not to. And I think that's a disservice, especially when you're elected official who's supposed to represent folks. And so I will absolutely prioritize meeting with people. I'm happy to take a meeting with anyone. I've had coffee with endless amounts of folks, and during the pandemic, lots of phone conversations, and I will continue to prioritize that. Not only responding to people who reach out to me, but also going into our underserved communities and make sure I'm hearing from them as well.
Thank you. And now we'll have Debbie Bryant from District 44.
Yes, so I'm a community and public health nurse. That's what I've done in my career for the last 20 years. So engaging with folks is what I do. Everyone from every walk of life. I've been involved with building coalitions to bring people around the table to help solve and get things done. Rather that's someone in the community, someone that people will just kind of label, I guess, a regular person, to bank executives, to public officials. So engagement is my world. Since I started running for office, I've been also talking to voters and to constituents. It was quite a nice experience for me to be out in the community. And I met a woman who said, I've never met someone whose face was on a pamphlet. And I quickly said, well, yeah, my face is on that pamphlet, but I'm a regular person and a regular girl, and I'm here just to try to listen and understand what the voters want. So I also plan to continue to make those rounds. I've already made promises that the places that I've been and the voters that I have engaged with, that I will continue to do that. And I look forward to them being in partnership with me as we secure this seat so that I can serve the voters. So that's what I plan to do, and I look forward to it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, next, go to the next question, and that is, what measures would you support enhancing race relations in our communities? And this one, we will start with Debbie Bryant, District 44.
This is such a critical issue and a question that I'm so glad we are going to have the opportunity to address. So I don't think any of us in this community would have ever expected to see on video over and over again the knee of a police officer on the neck of a man until he died. Nor would we have expected to witness a man in this community, a Black man, being shot in the back, killed, murdered, or other men being shot across our nation. Nor would we ever have thought that we, this community, would have to deal with a massacre at a sacred church downtown Charleston, as those 9 parishioners went to Bible study. So anyone who does not have an appreciation that institutional racism exists, for me, frankly, is disappointing, and I think they are tone deaf. History will be our measure our success here, and it is a responsibility of the masses. So we need to accept, we need the white majority community to be in partnership with the brown minority community so that we can come together to solve these issues. So I look forward to doing that and for us to think about this as opportunities in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Katherine Whittaker?
Yes, thank you, Julie. I appreciate exactly what Debbie said. I think it starts by having leaders who recognize the challenges and who will prioritize equal justice, and that includes policies that reduce inequities. You know, we've got to recognize that that is a fact, that there is systemic racism, that there are inequities that are inherent in our institutions and our structures. And so we have some unlearning to do in this area, especially for, you know, members of my friends in the white community. You know, I think that one of the things I have learned, I've attended the Trident United Way healthcare racial disparities roundtables, and some things that the YWCA has put on as well, to try to learn more about these issues, because I feel like in my environment, one of my duties is to speak up when I'm in a room full of other white people, and to listen when I'm in a room that is majority women and men of color, because that's the kind of conversation that helps me learn and unlearn things that I need to know to do this job better. And so it starts with recognizing those challenges, and then it starts with implementing some policies that we know are needed. South Carolina still doesn't have a hate crimes bill. We finally have some momentum, 5 years since it was first introduced, to make that happen. That needs to happen. We have to have consistent use of body cameras. There are common sense solutions that most people would agree on that we need to have the political will to do in South Carolina.
Oh gosh, sorry about that. Let's go with this next question, and this time Katherine Whittaker will with District 37, we'll let you start again. And this one is, what suggestions do you have for managing the pandemic in our state, as well as preparing for pandemics in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm going to let Debbie preach on this one in a minute because she's the healthcare professional. But I would say that it starts by making sure that we're balancing the public health impacts as well as the economic impacts, because, you know, until people feel safe, until we can gather again in person, until we can travel again in a way that people are comfortable doing, you know, some of our hardest hit industries are not coming back. So we have to have the public health, mitigate the public health risk first. And, you know, to do that, we have to have increased testing. We have to have the rapid testing. We have to be able to be testing for if people are infectious rather than just if they have the infection. So some of that public health mitigation has to happen. And then we have to address the economic impacts, and especially on our small businesses. Obviously, we all know that we thrive on our hospitality industry. I mean, that's a huge industry for us in the Low Country, and we've got to make sure that the small businesses that are the backbone of our community are not carrying the burden of the economic impact of this. We have to provide them aid. We have to encourage access to capital for them, encourage lending. We have to make sure that we're supporting creative ways for them to continue to do their business. A lot of restaurants have moved outdoors, of course, and takeout and that type of stuff. Some of the retail shops are doing more online ordering and live streaming sales and that type of stuff. So we have to do all of it at once. That's the other thing. We have to work on the public health, and we have to work on the economic recovery and make sure that we're being inclusive about addressing all of the impacts.
Thank you so much. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
So yes, I'm going to start with elect a nurse to the Senate, a community and public health nurse, someone who knows, understands, believes in science, and knows how to analyze and use that information to make good decisions for our state. We also need leaders to model correctly. Now, Katherine talked about some of the things around testing in those areas, so I'm just going to go to some of the other things that I think we can do. We need leaders who can model behaviors that citizens will follow. We can't say one thing and do another and expect that we are going to make a difference and bend that curve that we needed to. Experts are warning us now that COVID infections and death are going to increase this fall and winter, particularly with the flu, when flu season hits us. So that's going to be a problem that we have to deal with. We can't wish it away. So I would say we need leaders to model. We need everybody to wear a mask. That's what we have to do. And then we need to talk about the healthcare of our state. We need individuals to have access to healthcare so that when they do get sick, they have a place to go so that we can ensure that they have the appropriate treatment. Those are some of the big things that we need to tackle in our state to ensure that we are prepared, we are giving good information now, and we are prepared of what's going to happen with COVID in our future, because it will still be around in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's kind of keep in that same vein, and we're going to do another question about health and healthcare, but this one kind of brings in with schools. So I'd like to know, and we'll start with you, Debbie Bryant, District 44. Do you support comprehensive sexual health education that is medically accurate and supports all identities in South Carolina public schools? Do you support or oppose legislation that allows for safe and legal abortion in South Carolina? So it's kind of a double question. Let's go ahead and...
I'm sorry, but a portion of it in the middle I missed. Can you read that again, please? My apologies.
Let me break these up into two questions. So the first question is, do you support comprehensive sexual health education that is medically accurate and supports all identities in South Carolina public schools?
The answer to that is yes. I don't know how we think that we are going to ask young people, anyone, to make good decisions about their reproductive health if we are not providing the information. Education is a key to ensuring that that everyone is making the best decision for themselves about their own reproductive health. I can't be more clear about that from my position, and I don't quite understand why we feel that cutting off information would be a good step towards progress. So my answer to that is absolutely, we need to ensure that our education system and our school systems provide the best data-driven, practice-based information about reproductive health to those individuals who should have them and need them in order to make those good decisions. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, I support comprehensive sex education as well. And for me, that's about outcomes. When you look at the data on that, that's better. You get better health outcomes when you have a comprehensive sex education curriculum. And so, yes, I would support that. The other question in terms of, the rights to abortion. I think this matter is so deeply personal, and for me, it should be made by women because I trust women to make their own decisions when it comes to their health care. And in this state, we have a true maternal health care problem. And so when we're talking about taking away or reducing people's options, that's the wrong conversation. To me, we need to be focused on comprehensive prenatal and postpartum care and making sure that women have access to that, especially women in our rural areas. Around Berkeley County, we've got some real pockets of need in terms of not having access to an OBGYN close by, not having access to a hospital close by. And so those are the kinds of issues when we're talking about healthcare. We need to be focused on access to healthcare. We need to be making sure we have that comprehensive prenatal to postpartum care for women. So those are the kinds of conversations that I think we need to be prioritizing in our state assembly.
Thank you so much. Debbie Bryant, would you like to, I know that I kind of broke the question into two things.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something about the second point? You can kind of.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I support a woman's right to choose. I think that where we need to do more within the education arena around that is to help citizens in our communities understand that this is about the health of women. When abortion was illegal, women died. Women of means tend to be able to support what they want in a, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I thought I turned that off. My apologies. Oh my goodness. So let me go back to, this is around the health and wellness of women. And so we want to ensure that women have access to their own health, and it is not the government's business, I don't feel, to limit what a woman should and need to do about those health needs. We should stay out of people's bedrooms, and that should be a decision that is around the woman herself.
Thank you very much. All right, so let's kind of keep on this healthcare thing for a little bit, and I'd like to ask you, and we will start this one with Katherine Whittaker from District 37. Your feelings about, do you support or oppose Medicaid expansion in South Carolina? And please explain your decision.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Julie. I support Medicaid expansion. Right now, South Carolina taxpayer money is going to other states because we haven't expanded Medicaid here. So I think that's just common sense that our money we should keep some of that here to do that Medicaid expansion. The other part of this is personal for me. I have a 3-year-old nephew who has 4q deletion syndrome, which is a rare chromosomal disease. And my brother, I don't believe, would be able to do all he does with his care without the support of Medicaid. I've seen it firsthand. This is something that has impacted our family and our life. And the fact is that expanding Medicaid will give more access, will give more insurance, will make sure that people are taken care of. And that's just the fundamental part of this for me. And so, yes, I support expanding Medicaid here in South Carolina and would vote to do so.
Thank you. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
I support it as well. There are so many communities, vulnerable communities in the state where individuals do not have that access. Now, I could stay here all night, well into the evening, sharing those stories with you, but we don't have that time. That timer will hit me in just a minute. So, do we need access to healthcare? And for a state, we can do it right now through the Affordable Care Act. We are now still only one of 12 states that did not expand Medicaid. And it makes financial sense for our state. We are going to pay that bill when it comes due, whether it's on the front end in early detection and diagnosis of care, or on the back end when those individuals and the healthcare costs are higher. The South Carolina Hospital Association thought it was a good thing to do. The incumbent that is retiring in this seat, he voted to expand Medicaid through the ACA. So I feel that that is the best thing for us to do, knowing that we are going to be hitting a marker in COVID in the next few months. And we are going to expect that the numbers are going to be going up across the country. So those individuals, if we want to keep them healthy so that individuals can go to work and we can have greater economic advantages for everyone in our state, we need everyone to have the access to get the treatment and the care that they need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now let's go to schools, and let's talk. I'd like to know where you stand on the use of public funds for private school vouchers. And we will start with you, Debbie Bryant, District 44.
I do not support the use of public funds for private school. I think parents certainly have the right to send their children to private school, but public funds should not be a part of that. I grew up in the public health system, public school system, and with the help of parents, of loving, cherished family, I was able to make a public school system work, and then end up to then support my growth and development through achieving my doctoral degree in nursing. So public schools, if we keep them funded appropriately, can also offer those same opportunities to anyone who wants them. So we cannot, I don't think it's fair to drain our public school of resources to then go into private school. Again, I support parents having a need and desire for their children to go to private school if that's what they so choose, but not using federal resources to support or state resources to support that interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, thank you, Julie. I absolutely think public funds should be used for public schools and private, and not public funds for private schools. You know, this is something that my opponent has been pushing for years to try to make happen in terms of private school vouchers in South Carolina. And, you know, this particular instance where the CARES Act money the governor was going to allocate for this kind of backdoor voucher program, to me, it just speaks to when you can't get it done legislatively because it's not popular and you can't get enough votes to it, you're going to try to do it a different way to open a door to a program that's not popular and that the majority of people don't want. That's the kind of political games that we've been playing for a long time in South Carolina that people are really tired of. So I absolutely disagree with the governor's approach here, and I absolutely disagree with spending public money on private schools at all. So, you know, we've only fully funded public education 8 times in the last 42 years, according to our own formula. So, and now you're talking about taking more money away from those children. I have 2 kids in public school right now, and it just makes no sense to me that we would do that when we haven't even fully funded our own public education schools yet. And now we're taking more money away from them for this. So I'm very glad that the court struck that down. It's the right decision. And I hope it's a lesson for folks that if you can't get something done legislatively, you shouldn't try to kind of backdoor it in this way either.
Thank you. Now let's talk a little bit about environment and clean energy. So I'd like to know, what do you have specifically in mind for advancing clean energy in South Carolina? Is wind, solar, and even sweet potatoes for ethanol could bring sustainable jobs for our state? And we'll start with you, Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, I absolutely support a clean energy future. And that's something that gets me really excited because there's endless possibilities here in South Carolina with renewable resources. We have got a lot of sun in South Carolina, and we could certainly do more than we're doing in solar. We've made some good strides in the last couple of years finally, but there is more we could do in that area. I'm actually really interested in some reading I've been doing about using agriculture and helping farmers store carbon in the soil. You know, this is a really great aspect. Again, South Carolina has a lot of agricultural land and a lot of farmers that could really, we could do this. We could be a leader in this industry. And then, of course, several years ago when the Clemson's wind turbine testing facility opened, I went to the grand opening for that. Such interesting technology that's available to harness wind power as well. So that's the kind of innovative solutions we need to be thinking about when it comes to a clean energy future. Unfortunately, with the mess that happened with regard to the nuclear construction, that's really set us back many years in our plans for transitioning away from coal. And so I really think we've got to focus on a clean energy future. There are a lot of good ideas out there and some groups that are trying to make some headway in those areas. And so we have some plans and we can make this happen. We need the political willpower to do it. So that's a topic that I get really excited about because I think it's a way for South Carolina to be a leader in the clean energy future.
Thank you. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
So I agree that clean energy and the environment is something that we need to focus on. I have 2 grown children, and that's what they talk to me about all the time. It's about their future and what they would like to see in preserving the environment. I think the thing that I would start with that I'm very interested in is charging stations. That may be something that's easier to do, and nothing is easy, right? We've got a lot of great ideas out there, but that's something that I want to investigate. I think that's something that would be a priority for me to think about. I also though know that it's very important for me to learn a lot more in this area. So in my skill set of bringing the right people around the table, I want to hear and talk to many others who probably have more expertise and know a lot more in this area. So I always look for best practice. I look for the science and data and how we can use that more appropriately. But I think we have not had the will in this state that we have needed to really make a difference there. So that's what I would like to see. But I believe that that's kind of where I would start. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for both of you. Let's go on to kind of keeping with the business. I'd like to know, Debbie Bryant, District 44, what you feel like are the best approaches to encourage businesses to locate to South Carolina and in your district.
So one of the things that I've been learning about is opportunity zones. And I think that is one of the things that we would like to continue to encourage. However, I think opportunity zones should also include some set-asides that we can have local businesses and folks from the community be a part of that development. We want to create the opportunities for folks to be able to, for entrepreneurials to grow and develop small businesses, but we don't want all of that to be coming from out of state or big corporations. So for the development, particularly as we are growing and looking for new opportunities that can come into smaller communities and into District 44, I think what we've seen in these opportunity zones is something that we can really look at. But again, to ensure that if there is an equal playing field around that for large businesses and corporations, as well as the mom and pop kind of businesses to develop and come in as well, stay within the community.
That's great. Thank you. Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yeah, I'm going to sound a bit like a broken record here, but there's a big complicated thing that needs to be done, comprehensive tax reform, that we have not had the political will to do. The South Carolina Chamber of Commerce has been calling for comprehensive tax reform in our state for years. And again, it's just one of these things that it's too hard and too messy, and we're not going to try to get into that. And so instead, we have this complicated system of fee in lieu of taxes for some of our bigger employers and manufacturers and that type of thing. But unfortunately, that shifts the burden then to smaller businesses and commercial property owners and that type of thing instead. And so we've got a real problem with our tax code and the complicated and secret, in many cases, deals that are made to attract these folks. That needs to be more transparent. So we need a simpler tax code. We need a more transparent process for how we're attracting the folks here. And then we need to make sure that they're, hiring our people. And in order to do that, they have to be confident in our education system. So the number one thing I know that we hear from employers that are looking to come here is, will we have a skilled workforce, especially now that we've been successful in attracting so many of these businesses. You've got Boeing and Mercedes and Volvo competing for talent as it is. So how are we going to make sure we continue to have a skilled workforce that is our people growing up in South Carolina, and not bringing folks in to fill those jobs, you know? And so I think that's some of the issues that we need to tackle. And once again, it's just clear that we haven't had the political willpower to do that. But Debbie and I have that political willpower, and we'll put it to work when we get up to Columbia in January.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go to, let's start talking about the criminal justice system and law and order. And I'd like to know, what policies do you support to affect change in the criminal justice system? Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, thank you. So I was at a neighborhood meeting about 2 weeks ago in the district, and the community police officer, the neighborhood police officer, was there to give a report to the folks, and everybody was socially distanced and masked, but you know, to the members in that neighborhood about what had happened over the last month and the kinds of things he'd been called out for and what he had seen. And there was this great back and forth because the community members know him and he knows them. And I think that that's a great aspect, this whole idea of community policing, of neighborhoods knowing their officers. That's so important. And I was talking to the school resource officer for Phillips Simmons High School in our district as well several months ago. Similar thing. He was telling me how, you know, he knows these kids. And, you know, it's not on his time, but he goes to their games because he wants to know them. He wants them to know him. And that's the kind of public safety we need. You know, we know that we have people that want to do that well. And frankly, we're asking our police officers to do too much. In a state, for example, that is plagued with all this domestic violence issue, you know, we're asking our police officers to intervene in those situations. We're asking them to help with the mental health issues that some folks have. We're asking them to help with our homeless. You know, we're putting a lot on our officers. And so I think there's a lot we could do and invest in terms of kind of community resources that would help level that a bit, so that we're not asking our officers to do all of that. And at the same time that we know that community aspect of policing works. So I'd love to see us continue to invest in that as a solution.
Thank you. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
So I 100% agree with Katherine about we need to make sure that we have a system that looks at community policing. After the Emmanuel AME massacre, I was asked to participate on the steering committee for the Illumination Project. And on that project, we were developing and bringing in the community itself to talk about best practices as it relates to community safety and also constitutional rights. How do we balance those things? So within that 18-month journey that I took on that project, which was quite eye-opening, we saw some of those things and developed those best practices that are now used across the nation. So we just need to use some of the things that we've actually developed and worked here in Charleston so hard on. So body cameras have to work, and they have to work all the time. Police have to work for everyone all of the time. No system is perfect, but it has to work more for everyone than it doesn't. Also, we need to look at these low-level crimes that is causing such havoc in our system that we are arresting folks for and throwing them in jail for long periods of time, that we shouldn't do that. So I think this also comes back to opportunity, the opportunities in education, opportunities in job creation and peer mentoring. There's so many things that we can do, but criminal justice and policing also opportunity for communities and vulnerable individuals is something that we need to add to that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we've just got a couple more questions. I think the first one I'm going to go to is do you support or oppose resolutions that will require calling a constitutional convention to amend the U.S. constitutions? What benefits would you expect, and what concerns do you have?
Is that to me first?
No, actually, it should be Debbie, because
Okay.
it's hard when you're right there back and back. So Debbie Bryant, 44. Sorry about that.
Yeah, they come around real quick, don't they, Katherine? Our nation is really divided right now, and we have to do a lot of work to ensure that we bring our nation back and to unify us rather than divide us. From what I understand, legal scholars have warned that a constitutional convention could be radically harmful for our nation. I think Justice Scalia was one of those individuals that warned against a constitutional convention. Again, from how I understand it, it's almost like if we were in the middle of a fight in a marriage, we're going backwards and trying to rewrite our wedding vows during that time of the heated argument. So that's probably not a good idea, and so I would oppose it. We do have a process for amendment and when we need changes. So for now, I think that's the process that we should continue with. So no, I would not support a constitutional convention. Thank you.
Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
I agree with Debbie. I would not support that either. You know, to me, this is a solution that doesn't have a problem. You know, I think this is one of those issues. I never get asked about this when I'm talking to people around the district. This has only come up when, you know, there's a particular kind of angle that people are trying to kind of go after with this, in my opinion. And I feel like it's something that voters don't know about, don't care about. You know, why don't we prioritize the issues that we're hearing about from people all over the district? You know, let's talk about those things. And so I'll go back just for a second, Julie, to the question before, because something I left out is, you know, the impact of the court system on all of the things we were talking about when it comes to criminal justice. And not just criminal justice, but justice generally. You know, we've got to do a better job of investing in our court system in a way that makes it work. You know, when we have people that are sitting in jail for a month just waiting on a hearing because they didn't have a court reporter or something like that, you know, these are stories I've heard, and that's not justice. So, you know, those are the kind of issues I'd like to talk about. People aren't interested in us getting together for a constitutional convention. Folks are pretty happy with the Constitution and know that there's some flaws there that we have worked out over our existence and will continue to work out in the course of the process that we have, as Debbie mentioned, with amendments and other things. And so, you know, those are the issues that I want to talk about instead of this one.
Great. Well, here's something else to talk about. We'd like to know, what should be the role of South Carolina citizens in helping redraw congressional, Senate, House, and local district lines next year? Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, thank you for the question, Julie. As I mentioned at the start of the conversation, how large my Senate district is, the lines are crazily drawn. You know, there's a line through a field. Some things follow the rivers, and some lines follow neighborhoods, and some lines follow county lines. And it's very clear that they were drawn intentionally in a way to make it easier for my opponent to continue to win re-election. And the fact is that lines should be developed by, you know, folks that know demographics, folks that know geography, you know, lawyers that know, you know, equity, and not politicians. You know, I go back to the line I've heard that I love, that, you know, voters should pick their elected officials. You know, politicians shouldn't pick their voters. And so I think this is a crucial year for us balancing the power in the State House so that we can make sure those lines are more fairly drawn. Because when the lines are more fairly drawn, our elected officials are going to look more like the people we represent.
Thank you. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
It is so hard to add to that because she's absolutely right. So Katherine and I, of course, through this journey, she and I have had the opportunity to talk, and I have a great respect for her. And between her district 37 and this one 44, Katherine's district is on one side of the street, and mine is on the other, or through the cornfield, like she's talking about. It is so convoluted, and it is extremely difficult to even explain to folks where the district lines are. So am I in your district or not? Well, where do you live? Which side of the street do you live on? Is it in this cul-de-sac or this one because you're in or out? Yes, we need to really do some hard work to redraw these district lines so it makes sense and we are not encapsulating to ensure that a person or a group of people can win. And we need to do that so that we force our representatives out to meet the constituents and ensure that we understand what their needs are. I also think, as Katherine said, that this should be some kind of independent commission. We need someone that's going to look at this that's fair and reasonable, just as the voters are looking at rather to vote for me or my opponent. They're making decisions on the representative that makes sense for them. So I really believe that there's a lot of hard work to do here. So we do need to kind of level the playing field so we can get some ideas and this kind of makes sense for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our last question, we'll start with you, Debbie Bryant, District 44. For what reasons would you support or oppose ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment in South Carolina?
For what reasons would I'm sorry, read it again.
Reasons would you support or oppose ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment in South Carolina?
Equal rights for everyone is just that. It should be justice for all. So I would support it. Everyone should have a voice. Diversity, inclusion, different ideas should be welcome around our tables all the time. Again, this is bringing everyone into the conversation, expanding the tent to ensure every voice is heard. Justice for all, whether you feel that you more affiliate with one side or the other, should be just that. So anything that continues to expand and ensure that we bring more diverse individuals and ideas and systems into the conversation is 100% what I would support. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything there, but I don't understand why this would even be a question, to be honest with you. It's just not, it shouldn't be a part of who we are. Who we are is we are a melting pot of so many diverse individuals, and everyone should be welcome. And I know I said that, but just felt that I had to say it one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Katherine Whittaker, District 37.
Yes, I would absolutely support ratifying the ERA in South Carolina. And I can't think of any other more fitting tribute to Ruth Bader Ginsburg than making that happen. You know, I feel like we have made so much progress, and yet in South Carolina, there's still so much work to do to make sure that women are protected on the same level as men. And I think that as I continue to read and then just personally live the experience of the burden of this pandemic falling on the shoulders of women, it's something that has been top of mind for me because, you know, I can't remember the numbers, but the vast majority of folks who have left the workforce during this pandemic have been women, and disproportionately women of color. And I just feel like the benefit that would come from having, you know, the Equal Rights Amendment as part of, you know, codified and just, you know, in the books for history that women are equal to men, and that their rights deserve equal protection. I just feel like that's still a step we need to take. And it's not purely symbolic, it's real as well. There would be a lot of things that could benefit women from actually having that be ratified and passed. So I would definitely support it. I think it's something we should have done long ago.
Thank you so much. And now before we get to closing statements, I'd like to let our candidates just take a deep breath. Maybe we all can kind of take a deep inhale everyone. Exhale. Whew. And let me give you just a little bit of information about the November 3rd election. Oh goodness, that wrote over my notes. So whether you're voting early in person, absentee by mail, or on election day, make sure that you have a voting plan. A lot of voting rules have changed in 2020, including options for how, when, and where you can vote. Now is a great time to check your voter registration on vote411.org, the League's nonpartisan voter information website, and make sure you are ready to participate in this upcoming election. Also on Vote 411, you can learn about candidates you'll be voting on, compare their responses to League questions, find your polling place, and learn about COVID-related voting changes. Early voting by mail and in person is underway now. For early voting times and locations, visit your county election office website or the voting page on the League's website, lwvcharleston.org. To request an absentee ballot, contact your county election office. Now it's time for closing 60-second statements. We're going to go in reverse order from the opening statement. So that's going to mean Katherine Whittaker, District 37, goes first, and then we'll have Debbie Bryant, District 44, follow. Ms. Whittaker.
Thank you. I just have to say there's something to be said about showing up. I have a opponent who's been in office for 23 years. And the fact that he didn't show up tonight to answer your questions, I think should speak volumes. And as we talk to him and hear from him in other forums, you know, what he falls back on is his seniority. And I just want to say seniority doesn't equal leadership. Just means you've been there a long time. And what do we have to show for his seniority? You know, he likes to fall back on transportation committee, that he's the chairman. He likes to talk about roads and that type of thing. But the fact is, because of his lack of oversight, the state missed out on $34 million from out-of-state truckers because when the gas tax law was changed, they changed who collected those fees, and it didn't happen. And that's purely, buck stops here, his responsibility for not having that oversight. And then as I drive around this district, I'm certainly not seeing the benefits of it either. We have intense traffic, and our roads are crumbling, and our bridges are falling. So if you want change, I hope you will join me on November 3rd and vote for Katherine Whittaker. And you can find out more at Katherine Whittaker or KatherineForSenate.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Bryant, District 44.
So I too want to thank the League again for hosting this panel and for providing information on candidates. It's my pleasure, Katherine, to be here with you. I have the greatest respect for you, and I hope that we will both be headed to the State House. I also believe that it's unfortunate that Katherine and I are here showing up and answering your questions to the League by ourselves. It says something as well, I believe, when you don't at the last minute. This has been decided and scheduled for a long time. And here we are, Katherine and I, which we had a great dialogue. So I will leave the voters with this. I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, I'm an educator, and I'm a wife of a veteran. I believe that leaders should lead with integrity, honesty, and humility. I've spent my community and public health career, as I said, building coalitions, bringing people around the table who will be a part of the dialogue to ensure that we can make change and make something successful. That's what I want to do. I want to take that to the State House to improve our roads, healthcare, protect our environment. That's what Debbie Bryant wants to do. So I ask for your vote, Debbie for Senate. Thank you.
Thank you both. And it's just really thanks for everybody that participated, for taking the time to hear from our candidates. And actually, I'd like to just kind of shine the light on all of each of you, and maybe you can turn on your videos and you can we can all give the candidates a big round of applause.
Start my video.
Fill the screen, fill the screen.
Good to see you.
I want to encourage everybody to study the issues, learn about and vote for the candidates who you support. Many thanks to our candidates for the Senate District 37 and 44. And I guess now is the time, Russell, to tell you to turn on for the applause. So anyway, just have a great night. It's been great to be here, and we can all turn on our videos and just say goodbye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks for online.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Julie.
Goodbye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's funny. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Barbara, guys, Julie.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Good timing.
About the phone. That really, yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Question we had, so it was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Perfect.
Thank you.